Good morning, everyone. This is GeneralHandGrenade. We're taking a break from the war room today, coming to you from the computer room. I've got a game set up in there, so I thought I'd just take a few minutes just to tell you about who I am and how I came to play Axis and Allies and the history of that. How I came to join the Axis and Allies online community. And I'm going to start making some videos now, so I'm going to share some of the ideas that uh, I'm going to be making videos out of coming in the future. And these aren't going to happen one right after another. This is going to be over the course of the winter. It's winter time here in northern British Columbia, so gonna hunker down. Uh, get back out to the cabin next spring. But anyway, so um, I'm going by the handle General Hand Grenade. Uh, Most of you won't get that reference, but for a lot of Canadians of my generation, that was a song by a rock band by the name of Trooper back in the 70s. Uh, you can search the toolbar up there on YouTube, and you will just type in General Hand Grenade, and it's the first thing that's going to come up there. You can play that song. And anyway, that I just when I signed up to AxisandAllies.org, that I knew, okay, I need a name, and I need something war, and then that song popped into my head, so I thought, oh, okay, I'll just go with that, right? What's the worst that could happen? So I started playing Axis and Allies pretty much since the game came out. I'm back in the mid '80s. My friends and I, we used to play Risk. We were all in our 20s then, and we used to set up two Risk boards side by side. They were slightly different from each other. They were the same thing, but they were two different generations of boards. So, and the reason we needed two different ones was so that you could have two different sets of cards. You probably played Risk before, and you know what I'm talking about. You need to know which card went to which board. But anyway, we'd play all weekend long. We'd get drunk and do whatever, and we'd have a lot of fun. And then Axis and Allies came out, and so Risk was like chess, and Axis and Allies, well, that was chess to a, or Risk was checkers, and this was chess, and that was awesome. And because when I was a kid growing up, like back in the '60s, that's how old I am. Um, there wasn't much to do. I grew up was born and grew up in the forests of northern British Columbia. So back then, I mean, we only had one TV channel, and you played outside for the most part. Tried to stay away from the bears. Um, I grew up a little bit out of town even. But I used to love playing with little plastic army men. I had all kinds of armies. Used to be able to get these little boxes and you could get the French Foreign Legion or the American Cavalry, or any kind of World War One or World War Two pieces or Civil War. It went on and on. There was no limit to the type of units that you could buy, and they were only $1 a box. I mean, nowadays they're really good sculpts too. I wish I could find them now, but man, they'd probably be 20, 25 bucks now. But they were only $1 back then, and I got $1 for allowance, and so that's what I'd buy every week. Um, but I'd play for hours and hours by myself with these little plastic army men. So when Axis and Allies came out, I thought, hey, this is a game for me, and my friends were into that kind of thing too. And we played for years, and then all the people that I used to, one by one, all the people I used to play the game with, one would move to Vancouver, and another would move to the island, and another one to Calgary, and so eventually I found that all the people that I played the game with, they're all gone now. And so I stopped playing the game for the most part. They sat in my closet. And when Global came out, or when Europe and Pacific came out, I bought those games, and I tried them out and everything. I thought, wow, if only I had somebody to play these games with. And I tried them out a couple of times, and then I put them away, and I got interested in other things. My life is not just about board games, and so I put them on the shelf and forgot about them, and until recently. I have a cabin out at the lake. It's gorgeous out there. It's like paradise. People would pay a lot of money, and I've taken it for granted. I've had this thing for 20 years. That's where I spend just my second home in the summertime. I go out there, and I had some of my old friends come back to town. We got together, and I took the Global 40 game out there, and we had to set up not just the kitchen table, but something else on the side of it and everything, just so we could fit this game on. And it was raining outside. It was pouring that day, and so we played a game, and it just smelled like assholes and armpits in there. It was just gross after a while. Next day the weather got better. We went boating and everything, but we had a lot of fun. And one of the guys was telling me that he had bought the 1914 game recently, and he said it was a lot of fun to play that. And so I thought, I should check that out and everything. And anyway, they all went back home after the week was over, and I went back to work, and then things kind of changed really suddenly for me. I went to the bathroom, and I looked down, and it was red coming out. I was peeing, and I knew that wasn't right. And so I went to a doctor, and then went and got some tests done, and turned out I had a 10-pound tumor, cancerous tumor the size of a football in my left kidney. The doctor said it had probably been growing in there for decades, slowly growing in there, and I was going to need to have my kidney removed, and that's a pretty sobering thought. And so, I feel fortunate because, for one thing, I'm born in a country that has an excellent universal healthcare system, and an excellent surgeon that did the surgery, and a family. My kids are, the youngest one is 27, and the rest are in their 30s. I have 5 kids, and they took good care of me while I was flat on my back and after the surgery, and my mom helped out, even though she has her own health problems. But I was settling in for a long recovery, being off work, and when I was well enough to sit up and to move around a bit, I thought, I should go down, and I should get that 1914 game. So I went down to the game store there, and they had one, and I brought it back, and I opened it up, and the rules, like if you're watching this, then you play Axis and Allies, and you know that the rules are not very well written. And especially when you're just trying to figure it out for yourself. I mean, you don't have somebody to bounce this off of, and they don't give their take on what that rule means. And so I thought, I'll go online, and I'll see what people are saying about this. And the last time I played Axis and Allies was the early days of the internet. So and I didn't have a computer. That was something your kid had, right? Now I've got 2 computers and a smartphone and everything, and I never even thought about Googling Axis and Allies. But I did, and I came across this community, axisandallies.org, and thought, oh, this is great, And I found out a lot about it, about that game, and about all the other games. And it really got me interested again, because, this is something, like I said, that I was really passionate about. Playing with little toy soldiers was cool to me, and to have this game is something that I get really excited about. And so this got me re-energized. And I got to tell you, at that point in time, you're kind of feeling sorry for yourself, and what kind of changes are you going to have to make in your life? You only have one kidney now, and you've been off work for a while, but this, it gave me something to do. I had a spare room in my house, and I cleaned that out, and I put a table in there, all a little bits at a time, because I couldn't do much, and I found through the forums there, historical board gaming, and so I was ordering pieces, all kinds of pieces. I mean, I must have had 10 deliveries from them by now. But just getting excited about that, and getting up and moving again, because I was laying on my back like you need to do, and I needed to get up and move around, and it was because of this, and it was because of I had something to do, and I was sitting up and everything, that my recovery was accelerated. I was able to make it back to work. I'm a production worker in a sawmill, which is pretty physical. I was able to make it back in 60 days, from the day of my surgery till the time I was back at work, and I attribute a part of that to just getting back into Axis and Allies again, and I'm so thankful for the community, the Axis and Allies online community at .org there, that that got me excited about the game again. I can't say enough about everybody there. They make up maps and like I have. The Global 40 map that Young Grasshopper had made, and this is another version that another guy, his take on it. I downloaded that one and took it down to Staples. That's our one of the print shops in town. And another guy, Imperial Leader, he had a 1914 map. If you've played the 1914 game, you know it's kind of crowded in there. So it's 32 by 32, and so I made it 42 by 42 because that's what size would fit on my table just right, and it's giving me a lot more room. And then the cards that you can get. All kinds of player aids. That that just got me out of the house. They were getting to know me pretty good down at Staples there. I spent a lot of money, on being off work. But my kids are all moved out and everything now, so I wasn't worried about the money or anything. And really, I mean, doing all this stuff has gotten me back to work probably a month sooner than I would have if I hadn't done it. So I'm really thankful for all of that. And I'm thankful for being a part of that community. And I loved watching the videos that people make, and so I thought, that's something that I can do now. I can't drink as much as I used to, being on having only one kidney. Not that I was drinking a lot anyway. I mean, that's something I did when I was younger, but it's. I can hardly drink at all now, or at least I'm scared to, because you got to take better care of your body when you only have one kidney. So I need to fill my time with something, and so this will be a little bit of a hobby for me, doing some filming and everything. And I've made one film or one movie already, Special Forces Unit. I just uploaded it to Axis and Allies, or to YouTube yesterday, and made a post on AxisandAllies.org, and people are giving me their take on what they think it should be instead of this or that, and this is what I like about it, this is what I don't, and I love that. I love the house rules part of the forum, because it gives you an opportunity to share your ideas with people, and because we all have house rules. I know I've had them for years, ever since we started playing the game, the original Game Master game. From Milton Bradley, we always had our own house rules, and I'm sure you did too. And some ideas are better than others. So I like reading right back. Okay, I'll pick page number 18 today. And I'll start reading through those forums. And one guy there, he had POW camps, and he had dice, and he was rolling to torture prisoners. Yeah. What's next? Concentration camps. Only Germany gets them. You only need a 12-sided dice and a bag of weed, and I'll stick with the strategy and the combat part. You guys can torture prisoners if you like. That's not my thing, but it's fun. It's fun just reading about it, and I think it's great watching the videos. Young Grasshopper, you all know who he is. I just love watching his videos. I thought I knew a lot about Axis and Allies, but like I said, the rules, earlier, the rules book, like you read it and you think, well, man, let's just do it this way. That sounds like it. Or, that just, I can't figure that out. So let's just play it the old way, but watching his videos, I mean, they're so precise and okay, that's what that meant. So, it's great watching those type of videos, and also the strategy videos too. Is okay, yeah, I've got my own strategy, but yeah, that works too, right? And he shares the strategy that he's learned from other people, and then you're able to learn them. And I tell you, I mean, you watch hours and hours of his videos, like I did. Like I had to take breaks and lay down with my laptop there, because I was recovering, and so I just watched those and you can't watch hours and hours of those videos and not become a better Axis and Allies player. I mean, if you can't, then good God, I mean, you must have sat a little too close to the glue cupboard back in kindergarten. They're really good. There's a lot of videos online, a number of them from people. Another guy that I really like on there is Jonathan Meyer. He does 1914 videos, and I like that game. I'm going to also do some videos on the 1914 game and on on the America game. I have that as well. There's only a couple of videos online about that, and so I thought I'd make a video. So if you haven't seen the game or you've only just heard about it and wonder what it's about, then I'm going to get a little more in depth than what you see online. Basically, it's just Doug from Historical Board Gaming. Just okay, this is how you attack, and this is what you buy, and hey, go buy one, right? And that's fine, but I want to do a little more in depth, like you see with some of the other videos online, where they actually show you how to play the game, and this is what you do on the first turn. And I'm not going to play a whole game like that. Maybe just play the first turn and the last turn, because you can see where that game is going to end. The Americans, that they need to gain a certain number of points, and so when they're just about at that point, you can tell, and also you can tell when the Axis are going to just they need to gain in a certain number of cities. So, but I think first though I'm going to stick with the house rules and give you some of the ideas that I have, and please understand that these are just the rules that I use, and some of the things that I throw out there, I want to know what you think. I want to know how you deal with it, because I can amend my rules. I mean, they're not written down in stone or anything like that, I love the way that the Special Forces unit, that's the only other video I have right at this point, the only video I have, but I just love the way that unit is working out. That's one thing I want to mention. People are commenting on that, about how historically inaccurate it is. I like to try to be as historically accurate as I can, but I also want to make sure the playability is there as well. And I want to try to strike that perfect balance when I'm creating a house rule. But if it comes, if it comes right down to it, I'm going to lean slightly towards the side of playability over historical accuracy. Because, I mean, you're there to have fun. You're there to play a board game. If you were going to be completely accurate, I mean, the American player should be the guy hosting it. And then when he gets tired, he just drops down the nuclear thing and says, okay, everybody get the fuck out. It's time to go home. I'm tired. That's how every game is supposed to end if you're going to be completely historically accurate. So I want to lean slightly on the side of playability, and I think that the unit that I was displaying there, if you consider all the aspects that it's supposed to represent, then I think that it's close enough to being historically accurate. The thing about it is that there was no units that were comparable to each other, so I kind of tried to get an amalgamation of all the types of units, the Japanese types of units, and the Russians, and the Americans, and the British, and try to make one out of it. And even though that's not completely historically accurate, just try to get a representation of the special forces that were used in World War II. And make it playable, make it so the unit can do something. You shouldn't be able to go 4 spaces. Well, guess what? This one does, and the thing about that unit is that it's like their orders come from the highest levels of command, and they're going to make sure that you can get 4 spaces, whatever it takes. You have to take 2 planes to get there. That's just the way it is. So play the unit the way you want it. Don't play as with a special forces unit. Make your own rules. That's great. What matters is that you're having fun. If you ever come to my house, though, we're playing my rules. Okay, deal. I'll play your rules when we go to your house. So some of the things that I'm going to touch on, and I'm hoping to get lots of input, because, like I said, none of these are going to be written in stone. I wanna get into heavy tanks, and one of the reasons is because I bought the America game, and it comes with a lot of great sculpts. I mean, look at this here. This is a tank from. This is a tank from. The regular tank, the out-of-box tank from the Axis and Allies, Europe or Pacific, I mean, and this is one from the America game, and you can see the size difference there. So I want to use some of these pieces. Like here's another one from the America game, and it's one of these float plane things. And I can't see a big role in the game for something like that. But the problem with that unit, and why I'm probably not going to get into that one, is not the unit itself. I mean, if you're just going to put a couple of them in and make them affordable or whatever, then you know, that's one thing. But it's the price of buying those things. Like that thing, that there was 5 of them that came in the set, and that's great. But um, normally you have to. Sorry, I just got a message there. You have to spend like up to $12 just for one of them, and because you got to get them from Shapeways, and you know you're looking at spending $100 just to introduce those in your game if you're gonna buy them for each of the countries. So probably not going to get into that one, but I will like to get into heavy tanks and Tankograd. That was a thread that Der Kunstler had started. I don't know if that's how you pronounce your name. I'm sorry if it's not. But I thought that was really interesting, Tankograd. So maybe when I do the heavy tanks, I'll talk about Tankograd, and I'll do a bit of research on that, as I have already, and I've been thinking about it a lot since that thing, because I'm interested in using that one. Another one that I'm really excited about is not my own. It's from Historical Board Gaming, and that's American Minorities at War. I don't know if you've come across this yet, but it's a brilliant scheme. Like they give you these. I'll show you a couple of these markers. They come with 18 of these markers. This one here, this is the code talkers, like the Navajo code talkers that they used in the Pacific. That's so that the Japanese couldn't break the American code. And I have a friend in Tucson that I just visited earlier this year, and she met one of these guys last year. One of the few that are still alive, if not the only one. I'm not sure. There's probably a few of them, but anyway, she got to meet one of these guys, and she said he was just absolutely fascinated. She was so excited about talking about her meeting with him. So this one here, the code talkers. Let me see. I've got it up here. Once during the game, if you get this token, you get to. 3 of your American ships get to move 1 extra space. So that's something that happens once, and then you lose it. And here's another one, Women at Work. And this is one that you would keep the whole game from the time that you draw it out. But it's going to be a while before I can put this out, because I want to change some of them. Like this Woman at Work one, it's for the Americans, obviously. All of these are, but what this one gives you is 1 extra unit that you can put on a factory, and you don't get these until you are at war. So I mean, you can already place 30 units on your factories in America in Global 40. So what do you need to put 33 on for? You know, that's kind of useless. So you know, I'd like to come up with something like maybe you can tanks are $1 less, but only in a factory at in continental United States. Not if you were to take over, say, the Southern Europe factory that you know, like if you went to Europe. Not one of those factories, but just one at home where the American women would have been working. So I'll check into it and see, you know, what kind of factories they worked at. Obviously, they produced the men that were in the factories, or that were in the war, but that would have been a generation earlier. So we're not going to make the infantry cheaper. The they did have a big hand in that, but I mean, you know, something like tanks or mechanized units. I'll find out what maybe if you can let me know if you know if there was something that they helped produce that they were a big part of, and we'll make that 1 IPC cheaper instead of allowing you to put 11 things on instead of 10, because that one doesn't really help too much. Another thing I want to get into is partisans. I don't have the markers for that yet, but I have a really good idea of what I want to do with partisans. It has to do with when your capital gets taken over, like the French capital gets taken over right away. So you get a partisan mark, and I'll let you know what I think we should do with that. Railways. I went and bought a lot of these railway markers here, and I'm not exactly certain what to do with these. So when I do make a video about that, I'm going to put forth my thoughts, but I'm hoping to get more input on something like that, because maybe people that have played the global war game, because there is railways in that. I've never played railways in Axis and Allies because they've never been them, so I could use a bit of help with those. getting those just right. I think that that would be a really good addition to the game to help out with the non-combat movement. But you know, like I've got also the damaged railway markers, so we'll make up something to do with that and things like that. I have been looking into V2 rockets as well. I was buying these for the America game, and I thought I was buying 6 of them, but what I was buying was 6 sets of 6. So if you need a V2 rocket, I'm your guy. But yeah, the V2 rockets didn't come in until 1944. I've been looking into that, and so I'm not sure that, you know, I think they're okay in the America game because America begins in 1946 at the end, after the World War II ends, and so that might not be something that is going to be really good for World War II, but it would be fun to put them in there. But I think we're going to have to suspend our belief in reality a little bit to incorporate those in, to bring them in earlier than that. I'm going to do some 1914 videos. I've been working on trying to get the game a little more balanced. If you played that game, you know that that game is way out of balance. One of the things that I've been working on really hard and is making the game a lot more fun is these things here, Zeppelins. Germany gets these Zeppelins, and so you know, I've been going on historical board gaming where you buy these. It tells you what Zeppelins do, but the cost structure and things like that don't seem to work for me for the 1914 game. Maybe they work for the game that they're developing, the World War I game that they're developing, but they don't really work for the 1914 game as they've done them. But they're really good ideas that they've got there, so I'm just kind of tweaking those, the values of those. Like I said, I was going to get into the America game. I think the first video that I'm going to do next is something that I've been thinking a lot about lately, and something that we've been talking about on .org there, and that's the Japan versus Russia question. I'm not going to get into it too much because I might even start that video today. You know, I love that game, but if there's just one thing that grates my nuts about that game, it's the whole Japan versus Russia question. And I have some ideas that I think would make it better, but you know what really needs to happen is Larry Harris needs to step up and make a rule for that, because you know, it would be hard for him not to admit that that was an actual mistake, that the way that worked out. It's a wonderful game, but there's that one thing that is just ridiculous, right? So anyway, oh, there's one more thing I wanted to show you. I have an iPhone, so you know, it's taken me a week to make that video, that first video, because I needed to get this stuff. I didn't want to be walking around with my iPhone and making everybody dizzy, you know what I mean? So I got this thing. It's called Hitcase. It's from Vancouver, out in my province of BC. And it holds onto your iPhone, and it comes with a wide-angle lens here, you know, so you can make the videos a lot better. I bought a tripod that goes around with that, and you know, like it bends and turns and everything. So when you see me make a video and you see me moving around a bit, I'm walking around, and then I just set it down, you know, and point it where I want it, and then I talk about what is on the screen there, or try not to get too sidetracked. But anyway, that's what I'm using, and this works out great. But yeah, it's taken what took even longer was trying to figure out memory on my phone, why I have no memory left, and it all has to do with Apple and their friggin' iCloud, you know, and like you buy space on the iCloud so that you can store your stuff up there, right? And what they've done is they've taken every picture you've ever taken with a digital camera and put on your computer. They've taken it off your computer, put it on the iCloud, and put it on your phone. I mean, that's the opposite of what I wanted. You know, like if we had an Apple store in Prince George, which we don't because we're only about 80,000 people here, but if we had one here, man, I spent 2 days trying to figure this out. After I found out, I would have went down there and yanked somebody's jersey over their head, you know, and just lost it off. But that's the opposite of what I want for storage, okay? Like I want more storage, not less. So it's taken a while, but that's what I'm using, and I ended up deleting the cloud. Like I'll just do it the old-fashioned way. I'll take a bunch of pictures over a few months, and then I'll plug it into my computer and store them, right? Apple can kiss my ass. hopefully they. I think it was because of the iPhone 7. One of the things I did do was go to the phone store and ask them, what the hell, and while I was there, I was like my phone is 16 gig, right, and that's pretty standard. You get 16, maybe 32, right? This iPhone 6, and the iPhone 7s, they're like 32 gig or 64 or 128. That's the thing. I think they're trying to get you to buy an iPhone 7 and a set of wireless headphones. Like what a bunch of assholes. Anyway, I'm gonna finish my coffee now. It's getting kind of cold, so that's what I'm gonna be doing here. And I just want to say thank you to everybody for helping me to recover. I know that wasn't your intention. You didn't even know who I was or that I was there, uh, but it was a big help to me, and I really appreciate that. And I hope that I can give back to the community in some small way by throwing some videos out there and beginning a discussion. It's not like telling you how to play. It's hey, this is what I think. What do you think? And so let's have some discussions like that, like you have been having. So thanks for listening. Thanks for having coffee with me. Take care.